Passport to the World with Cathy Retief-Niel on Radio Helderberg 93.6 FM.
Passport to the World is brought to you by the Diamond Works Institute. Witness firsthand the art of diamond cutting and and the careful craftsmanship of jewelry manufacturing from our skilled professionals. The Diamond Works Institute boasts a large range of hand-selected loose stones as well as gold and platinum jewelry. Our expertise in the delineation of tanzanite, a rare stone that represents the essence of Africa, can be seen in our unique Tanzanite boutique. Visit the Diamond Works at the V&A Waterfront, Stellenbosch, Franschhoek, Windhoek or OR Tambo International Airport. Contact the Diamond Works on 021 425 1970 or visit our website, thediamondworks.co.za. Well, guess who we have in the studio this morning? I'm so excited to have my first guest on the new series of Passport to the World. Dawn Bradnick, welcome. So happy to have you in the studio.
Thank you, Cathy, but I get the honor to say welcome back. We've missed having you on the radio, and this is a real moment, and we're looking forward to what the new Passport to the World is going to bring us.
Thank you, Dawn. Well, it's lovely to be back behind the mic and to be in the studio with Blommy again. I have missed it, and I'm really happy to be back. And I better stop saying that, or I'm going to be repeating myself for the next 30 minutes. But gosh, it's nice to see you again. And I have been following The Incidental Tourist, which of course is your blog. And I've been following all your trips. My goodness, you have been getting around both in South Africa and abroad. And if I'm not mistaken, you have another 4 countries lined up in the next 3 months.
Yes, I have 2 lined up for this month.
Do you still live here?
Actually, it may not look like it, but I've cut down on travel quite a lot in the last year. I think I focused quite a lot of my trips to exploring local, these one-nighters or weekends in places like McGregor or a one-night at Grand Roche, or all these beautiful places. So I'm quite enjoying being home-based, but, my nature is that I do get restless and I do need to travel. And so I was lucky enough to be in Morocco in June, which is what we're going to talk about. And I'm going to Singapore and Vietnam later this month. But that is private or personal. That's because my son lives there now. Eden is living in Ho Chi Minh.
Oh.
So I am going to head over there, and together with him and his girlfriend Kate, we're going to do a bit of traveling in Vietnam. So I'm really looking forward to that.
So we'll be able to follow your journey on social media, definitely. I'm sure. Lots of wonderful photographs. Well, photography runs in your family. I mean, Eden is a videographer, isn't he?
Yes, he is a videographer.
Extremely good one at that.
He went over to do a videography job in Thailand in August last year, and his girlfriend is actually from Siberia, and they needed somewhere warm and beautiful to live, and have now settled in Ho Chi Minh, which is quite difficult from the fact that I wish he was here and I could see him all the time, but on the other hand, it gives me a wonderful excuse to go to Vietnam and do some traveling with them.
Absolutely. So. Well, I'm sure you miss him, and of course every time there was someone looking for a videographer, we would all recommend Eden because he's proven himself time and again, wonderful videographer. But away from your very talented children,
yes,
and on to you. And is this your second visit? Because I know you went about 2-3 years ago, you went with Lisa Bissett.
I did,
more to Morocco, that area.
I know, that was actually quite a lovely story. I mean, we know Lisa Bissett, who was with the Travel Corporation for many years and has now since moved on. But before she made the change in her life, I actually just sent her a text very kind of whimsically one day and said, meet me in Morocco, because I was feeling really restless and I always wanted to go there. So being Lisa, she said, okay, how about late October? So that was exactly 2 years ago. And we did a road trip there, and it's sort of a Thelma and Louise, but without Brad Pitt or the bit at the end. So I know I could have done with Brad Pitt, but we actually met in Casablanca, rented a car, and my mother sent a kilogram of fudge, and we'd done a little bit of research, but we thought we could wing it, and we'd booked Airbnbs, and off we went. And so from Casablanca to a few days in Marrakesh with a little road trip into the Atlas Mountains, and from there we went to Essaouira, which is on the coast, a beautiful coastal place with beaches, quite popular with the surfers, back to Casablanca and home. So I loved that trip. I loved it because of Lisa. And because I know that I wouldn't have been brave enough to drive those streets on my own, or actually not to drive those streets, but Lisa was on it, and I was navigating, and we just had the best time. But I think if you have a wonderful time like that in a country, that it resonates, and it really will always probably be special to me, and so I really wanted to go back. So when an opportunity arose for me to spend just 5 nights, just 5 nights in Marrakesh, and only in Marrakesh, I couldn't say no, and I was back there in June.
I have to read your opening paragraph in the article that you did for a magazine. Which magazine was it?
This is
Essay and Beyond.
Essay and Beyond, newly launched.
Yeah, I saw that. I think the magazine comprises everything by Dawn Bradnick.
I do have 9 articles in it, so Sunisha is
That's a record.
good.
I never ever achieved that, so well done on you.
Thank you.
I love your opening where you said colourful, vibrant and mystical. The very word Marrakesh conjures up images of a flaming desert city, an exotic place of sensory overload with alluring sights, sounds and flavours. How poetic is that?
Thank you very much.
Does it really make you feel poetic when you go to the Pink City?
It does. I think that we all look for different things when we travel, and I just know that it's always a different place for different people, but some places speak to me, and you know that I went to Lisbon and thought, okay, this is it, I could live here.
You loved Lisbon.
I love
Went back again.
I haven't been back again. But Marrakesh is more sultry. It's got a bit of a grungy element to it, lots of history, and it is a pink city because all of the buildings have been constructed with sand, this red sand that comes from the surrounding desert. So it's kind of a subdued pink by day, and then it seems to brighten up as the sun is setting, and it's got the Medina, but it's also got very modern elements. And even I noticed, because you go back and you have these memories, but you're making new memories. And I can remember being in the taxi on the way to the hotel where I spent the first night, and it was a public holiday, and there were kids playing in the parks and people out everywhere enjoying the city, and it just felt so festive, and it's very peaceful and safe, and it really is that sensory overload, especially when you go into the souks and you get the sound of the call to prayer, and then the beautiful food that is being cooked and the spices, and then you see all of these beautiful carpets being laid out to be sold. And so whatever it is you're looking for, you're probably going to find it there.
Well, looking at your beautiful photograph in this article, and you are such a good photographer.
Thank you.
I used to call myself a photojournalist, but I don't think I would call myself that if I was on a trip with you. But the photographs are wonderful. But what's so amazing, as you said, that the buildings turn from that pink almost to a red colour at sunset.
Yes.
But all the wonderful colours in these markets, you look at the materials and the spices, and it looks absolutely amazing. And you mentioned the word safe, and that's interesting because, in the old days, they used to say if you were blonde, and never mind being tall, blonde and beautiful like you, but if you're blonde, you could have a problem in some of these North African countries, and you didn't find that at all.
No, well, I think the first time I was traveling with Lisa, so she looked after me when there was a very, very beautiful man that we found in a village in the Atlas Mountains, wanted to take me home and teach me all about Berber massages, and she was like, "Come here," and took me away and saved me, or didn't save me. We'll never know.
She probably spoiled it for you.
No, I think that it's true that. Being blonde, you do get a level of appreciation, perhaps, I'm not young anymore, so it's quite nice to get a bit of attention.
Go away, Dawn.
No, but I felt very, very safe, and everyone's very friendly. And I have to tell you that there are incredibly beautiful Moroccan women, and so it's not like anyone is spoiled for choice and waiting for tourists. They are incredibly beautiful people, and in a city like Marrakesh, very modern. I'm always very aware of the fact that it is a Muslim country. I'm entering areas where they may be a little bit more conservative, so I think I wore shorts on one day because it was about 38 degrees, but most of the time I'm wearing dresses and trying to consider that. But the local Moroccan girls are looking like fabulous in little jean shorts. I mean, not all of them, but it's just, I think that we do have a lot of preconceived ideas about what a Muslim country is going to give you, and there are parts of Morocco that are more traditional. But a city like Marrakesh, I think Casablanca is more traditional. What we saw in Casablanca, it's the biggest city in Morocco, and it's heaving, and it's just got a different sort of feel to it, being on the ocean as well. But Marrakesh it's very cool, and it's almost alcohol free. So
really?
It's quite. If you go to
then I wouldn't do well.
No, that's when you find these really posh hotels and order whatever you want to. No, they ways around anything. But I know when Lisa and I travelled for the 2 weeks, it didn't even cross our minds. You're drinking all this sweetened, sort of mint tea.
You go to a country to experiment, to taste their food and their drink, and there's nothing that annoys me more. It irks me when you're traveling with someone and they say, I wonder if they've got a McDonald's here, or they walk into a restaurant.
There is a McDonald's, and
I know it's everywhere,
and it's full of, because when I went with Lisa, we stayed in Marrakesh. We actually stayed in an Airbnb above this really sort of high-end place on Avenue Mohammed V, which is this main road that goes through, and it was Zara, and next to Zara was McDonald's, and we were just laughing. But it was in a modernized building that had been, and a very nice little apartment, and it's so cheap. I think for that 2-bedroom apartment we paid about 600 rand a night, and it was walking distance to a great supermarket. No plastic bags in sight, they've been banned, and so if you want the McDonald's, you can always find it. And
I don't even want them in South Africa, but anyway,
there's so much else to eat there.
Exactly.
And as vegetarians, both of us, I mean, we were completely spoiled for choice.
I can imagine, but you have to. It's not just it's not just the sights and the sounds. It's the people. It's the culture, and food is such an important part of people's culture.
Yes.
So whenever I visit a foreign country, the first thing I do is forget about my favorite this, my favorite that. I try just about everything I can.
Yeah, and they have those tagines, and they make incredible. I brought a tagine home, and it's just the slow cooked kind of, I suppose, similar to what we would do in a potjie, but it's just these beautiful pottery crafted dishes that they cook things in.
Colourful and all the sizes.
And the baba ganoush and the mezza platters, and it's just, it's really good eating.
You could eat your way through Marrakesh, I think.
And baklava and things like that, which I think everyone should eat wherever they are. And we spent a lot of time, around the old Medina. There's really this way of life where in the evening everyone goes onto these little rooftop areas and have their mock cocktails and something to eat, and there's usually local music playing, and it's kind of magical, actually. And you just people watch, and I kind of feel like sometimes I need to pinch myself that I'm actually there, in the moment and just taking it all in.
Well, this time you were there on assignment.
Yes, yeah.
So what kind of accommodations did you enjoy?
This time I was not hard done by. I stayed in the Mandarin Oriental Marrakesh, which is just on the outskirts of the city, in a beautiful pool villa. So it's a big property. It's 10 hectares, and they have a whole lot of villas, 2 swimming pools, little restaurants, but it's very high end, and you get a butler who's just trying to help you all the time, and I'm thinking I actually don't need anything.
To do with the butler?
He was so charming, and when you walk, there's always someone trying to do, but it's done in a very charming way. It's not
sort of non-obtrusive way,
and it's so authentic. I find that the people are very friendly, and they're authentic in their willingness to help you. I think it's actually part of that Berber or Arab
it's part
culture.
of who they are.
Yes.
It's not that they're doing it especially for you. It's not let's spoil the guest or the tourist or what have you. This is just how they are naturally.
I took a guide for half a day because I had been to Marrakesh, but I thought, well, there's always so much that you can learn from having a guide. And his name was Ahmed, and he was actually he was a nuclear physicist, which is quite ironic, and had been in the States, but then had realized he needs to actually come back and add value to his country. And in his city.
Oh, goodness.
Was married with 2 small children, and just the most wonderful man. And he took me on this wonderful walk through the old Medina, and he took me to the House of Photography, which really has documented photographs of Marrakesh over the years, which is definitely a place worth visiting. And he took me to the old heart of it, where, he can say this is each little area in the Medina has got to have a school, has got to have a mosque, has got to have a bakery and a water fountain. Those are kind of the 4 things that every little core area has. And just, I think the different different areas. In a lot of souks you have this. So this is the carpet makers, these are the metal makers, these are the jewelry makers, these are the leather. So it's always been like that, and I learned so much from him. But he was so warm and hospitable. Like, I think he would have taken me home, meet his wife. This is how it is. I think it's just in their nature. So even though I was staying in complete and utter luxury, I still had my feet firmly on the ground.
And that you always do. We don't call you Mother Earth for nothing, do we?
True.
How are you finding on your travels now? I know you're a very conscientious traveller, and I do encourage people to read The Incidental Tourist. Is it just theincidentaltourist.com?
Yes, that's right.
Of course, I read it regularly, and I was going through it last night and reading about your latest adventures. And I can't believe I've actually managed to capture you in my butterfly net and drag you in here today.
I'm always in your butterfly net.
You're always away. But it sounds to me like what I wanted to ask you was, how do you find traveling now? You mentioned that you don't see a plastic bag anywhere. That must be so rewarding for you. And I know you campaign against so many things, from animal cruelty to, the list is endless. Do you find in other countries as well, perhaps more European countries and so on, or going to Thailand, countries like that, where I know you've been, do you find that this is something that's taken on, that people are becoming more conscientious?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a global awareness, but I think it's easier to manage in countries that have the will. It's very difficult
and the discipline.
I think it's very difficult in Southeast Asia. Even going somewhere like Vietnam, or Thailand, getting street food. The street food, the soup is in a bag, which is in a bag, which is tied with an elastic band, which is in a bag. It's kind of a bit disheartening. But then at the same time, every country has people and movements and organizations that are doing so much work to try and bring about awareness and change. So we should never lose sight of that. But I'm always very, thrilled. If you go to Europe and they have a plastic, single plastic free environment, then it's nice, but it doesn't surprise me in the same way. I almost expect an awareness in somewhere like a European country, like Portugal. But when I go somewhere like Morocco, or I'm shopping in Marrakesh, and it's absolutely, this is plastic free, we don't do anything like that, imagine. And it's incredibly clean. I have to say it's much cleaner than Cape Town, because I'm always walking in Cape Town with my dogs, and I walk on the beach all the time, and we really are in trouble here. So that's another thing that was just so wonderful. And driving out into the Atlas Mountains, which I did now again, and just taking those windy roads, and there are people everywhere. They have little remote villages, but you don't see any garbage. So I think people are maybe living more minimalistically in some of those villages, but they are recycling, reusing, and you can't actually buy a plastic bag there. They have these wonderful bags that they give out at shopping malls, and they give them out for free, and then they just get reused and reused. So there's a great awareness around
as long
that.
as everyone does their bit, that's encouraging. Tell me about some of the spectacular sites in Marrakesh, because I'm sure there must be a few of them. We only have, what is the time now? Oh, we do have a few minutes left.
Okay.
I'm always looking at this clock over there, because that one's hands somehow are missing. But I just wanted to know some of the... I was reading here, you said Yves Saint Laurent and Pierre Berger, where is it, went on to buy the Jardin, and so you carry on in your article with these little tidbits that one didn't know about, and that somehow surprises you. But then you think, well, fashion designers, a place like Marrakesh, why not?
Absolutely. And actually, there's a lot to see and do in Marrakesh. I've already mentioned that you have to go to the souk. The main Jama al-Fana is the big square in the middle that by day is full of storytellers and Moroccan musicians, as well as snake handlers, which I don't encourage, and things like that. But as soon as it gets to about 3 or 4 o'clock, they all disappear, and a about 500 food stalls arrive in the space. So at night you can just walk around and just choose whatever you want. So that transformation, all around it are beautiful restaurants where you can stop. There's lots of beautiful pastries. There's a French influence, so you've got that as well. You can just stop and have either a, like a croissant, a coffee. The Moroccan coffee is, inky black and strong and beautiful, and usually sweetened, with these little sugar cubes that they give you, which is fine. I mean, when in Morocco. But then if you look beyond that, there is the big mosque, which is a bit of, they've got the tower of the main mosque, and no buildings can be built taller than it because it holds pride of place in the city. So it's visible from all over wherever you're walking. There are loads of gardens. I think that they've really placed a lot of emphasis on public space, and so wherever you are and wherever you're walking, you're going to come across these gardens that are just like beautifully maintained, and people sitting, kids playing, whatever it is. And then the garden that you're talking about is the one that was actually, it's the Marjarel garden. It was developed by the artist, and then Yves Saint Laurent went on to buy it. He went over there on a trip and fell in love with the city, and I think was very deeply inspired by the culture and the people and the surrounds, and he set up home there. And 2 years ago when I was visiting, they just opened the Yves Saint Laurent Museum. There's one in Marrakech and there's one in Paris.
Oh, wow. And
it's beautiful. It has a collection of a lot of many of his dresses and accessories, and it has just a lot of his sketches and the story of his life, and there's a documentary film. So if you have even if you're not hugely interested in fashion, I just think the history and the photographs of him in Marrakech, also the home that he lived in, it's all there and you can visit it. It's probably the most visited site in the city.
Well, I mean, there is the French connection.
Yes,
Did you hear a lot of French being spoken there? Was it mostly Arabic?
Mostly Arabic, and a lot of the people, I think that, a lot of English is spoken in Marrakesh, so it makes it quite easy. When you're walking through the Medina and people are trying to sell you things, then you sometimes, but they're not pushy. Like, I know that in some countries it can be extremely
scary,
upsetting.
almost.
When I went with Lise, we literally filled a bag each with things that we bought, the fabrics. I even came back with a Marjarel blue little carpet because I couldn't resist. But yeah, and then from Marrakesh it's really easy to do a day trip into the Atlas Mountains. There are lots of tours available, or if you're mad like us, just take a car and drive.
You didn't think to take a camel, knowing you?
No, I won't ride a camel, you see. I have this animal issue.
No. Well, how do you feel about, I know how you feel about animals and captivity and everything else, and we know what happens to these poor elephants in India and other countries, Asian countries, how they so-called train them. Aren't they cute? But camels are sort of their form of transport there. So do you forgive them a little for having to use the camels?
No, I
transport?
completely and utterly have no problem. Camels have always been used, and but I think when you go, because on the one night I took a drive out into the Agafay Desert, which is literally about 40 minutes, and there's a new place called the White Camel Lodge and Tents, and they also do sundowners, and it's the most beautiful scenic view of the city and just this arid land around it. And as we went out, there was a shepherd on a donkey with a few sort of goats and sheep. It was completely perfect.
I'm sure you must feel transported when you go to a place
and
like
camels
that.
Just wandering around. So that's how it should be. But when you have these little areas where there's a camel and people just climb on the camel to get a photo, and those camels are standing all day in the sun and probably have a pretty miserable life. So they do offer camel rides, but I think just do your homework and make sure that those camels are well looked after. Some of them looked absolutely as happy as could be, and others didn't. So,
well, I have to say, Dawn, if more people would be conscientious a traveller as you are, it would be a far, far better world, because you do practice what you preach.
Thank you.
You do indeed.
I do my best. It's not easy to have convictions, but you've got to take a stance.
That's what makes it more rewarding. It never is.
It does.
Dawn, thanks a million for coming in today. I love interviewing you, and if I could, I'd have you on every week, but I think I'd be in trouble if I did that.
Yeah, so would I. I can't keep keep you all to myself. That would not be fair. But it's so good to see you, and thank you so much, Cathy.
Oh, thank you for coming. And I know you've driven all the way through from your part of the world to come and join us. And I don't want to talk to you over the phone. I want to see you
Oh, it's
and
so
sit
good
and chat
to
to
see
you.
you.
So I do appreciate your driving all the way through here.
Anytime, you know that.
Well, thank you very much, folks. I hope you enjoyed our chat to Dawn Bradnick this morning, and do check out her blog, theincidentaltourist.com. It is fascinating, informative, and Dawn, as always, articulate and descriptive. I think she's a poet at heart. Folks, Passport to the World is brought to you by the Diamond Works Institute. Witness firsthand the art of diamond cutting and the careful craftsmanship of jewelry manufacturing from our skilled professionals. The Diamond Works Institute boasts a large range of hand-selected loose stones as well as gold and platinum jewelry. Our expertise in delineation of tanzanite, a rare stone that represents the essence of Africa, can be seen in our unique Tanzanite boutique. Visit the Diamond Works at the V&A Waterfront, Stellenbosch, Franschhoek, Windhoek or OR Tambo International Airport. Contact the Diamond Works on 021 425 1970 or visit our website, thediamondworks.co.za. Thank you so much for joining me today with our guest Dawn Bradnick, and hopefully you will join me again same time next week on Passport to the World. Until then, happy travels.
Passport to the World with Cathy Retief-Niel on Radio Helderberg 93.6 FM. 6 FM. 6 FM.